Hey everybody, how's it going? How was your weekend so far? Hopefully it was good. Mine was not too bad. But yeah, I just gonna cover a bunch of random stuff that I came across on the news. A lot of these streams I don't structure too much. I read a bunch of shit today, and I'm gonna just read it and cover it and talk about it because I'm too lazy to make a video about it or make a bunch of smaller videos. So it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do a stream. But I like that feature about this now that we do have streaming, and I really do enjoy that feature. I hope it doesn't get flipped over in the future somehow, whereas that's highly possible. But there is stream.me, although there isn't much of an audience there. But hey everybody, hey Jesus, hey the one, how's it going? Hey Lolly D, thanks for joining me, guys. Yeah, I've got a bunch of different things to cover here, but one of the first stories was about Canadian politicians will court the ethnic vote, but will it benefit any one party? This is from the CBC, and obviously it's going to benefit. I don't even know why that's a question. It's obviously going to benefit the Liberals. Since Trudeau. Pierre Trudeau opened the door in the 1970s. Like, they have been consistently voting left. And, when it comes to provincial elections and stuff, they may vote right or conservative, but that's because they don't have a control on immigration. But when it comes to federal elections, you can be sure they're going to vote for the left because these people are going to be the ones they're going to let all their family in. Like, of course, I would vote for them too, right? How's it going, Jon Snow? I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, streaming is very racist. I agree, Deadman Waking. It's only a matter of time before it gets shut down. Yeah, the Saudi girl is now in Canada, and that's good, right? I'm glad that she's safe and stuff, but obviously this is just going to be a massive virtue signaling tool for Trudeau and Liberals. Like, look how great, how amazing we are opening our doors for her, even though there's that Asia Bibi girl in Pakistan who is a Christian and she's facing like death in prison sentence, even though she was let off. Now they're like retrying her again. It's like nobody's offering refugee status to her. Why not? It's like, what the fuck? And obviously nobody's going to talk about the fact that Islam is trying to murder her, or her family is trying to murder her or punish her severely because she's leaving the religion of Islam. But they're just going to talk about Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia is tied to Trump, kind of, like on the world stage. And they're going to be like, oh, Saudi bad, Saudi. But then they're going to ignore China and all these other horrible actors around the world. They're going to be like, oh, that's fine. I don't really care about that. We have buttloads of homeless people in Toronto. Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking too. We're bringing this girl over. She's like, she had the choice between all these countries like Australia, Canada, a couple other ones. Were like, oh, we'll take her. We'll give her tons of fucking shit. And yeah, there's like all these homeless people. It's like, at some point, it's kind of like, do we have to take everybody that is in a bad situation or something around the world? It's like, oh, I've been sexually assaulted by my husband, or I'm going to be in an arranged marriage. It's like, okay, well, that sucks. Okay, I feel for you, but that doesn't mean we need to open our doors for everybody. But nonetheless, it's still okay, right? It's good, I guess, but I'm not like, oh, they're such great people. Chrystia Freeland, she's like walking with her with her arms around her, like, oh, look at, she's my best pal, this girl. But I was looking at her Twitter, the girl that came here, and she's pretty anti-Islam, it seems like. And a few of her tweets, she's like, oh, I can't wait to eat bacon. And I was like, okay, that's funny, because there was that other girl that was that they were fighting for, Chrystia Freeland, to release I don't know, her husband or the other girl. And I looked at her Twitter too, and she's like, super anti-Islam and anti-Muslim and all this shit too. So it's like, I think the racism of the left, because they only see skin color. Essentially, they see these women sometimes that are like, oh, you're brown, you're a woman, you're this, you're going to be obviously left wing, yada yada yada. But I think I was watching Julie Mora's video, and she mentioned that they didn't allow that girl to speak because she was too tired to speak, right? Whereas, they brought her out for photo shoots, but it's like, obviously they didn't want her to say anything negative about, I don't know, Islam. But that's the Trudeau. They're trying to play like both sides at the same time, right? They're trying to be like, oh, we're for women's rights, but then at the same time, oh, we're for Muslims and Sharia law. So it's hard for them to balance that. Hey, Julie, how's it going? Yeah, I just mentioned you in your video there, but you made some good points on that video as well, right? Have a heart, AJ. Yeah, well, how do we have to have a heart for everybody? Because you know what? There's like 2 billion people or 3 billion people on the planet right now living with less than $2 a day. So should we take in those 2 to 3 billion people? Right? It's like there's lots of those. There's lots of people that are needy all over the world. So, when do you close the gate? When do you say enough is enough? And, it's just the ones he's picking and choosing. Why not the Asia BB girl? Why not these people? Why is he not speaking out for Canadians that are being detained? There's one Canadian guy that might face or death charges or prosecution or execution in China for like drug trafficking or something. So, and they're only talking about, 2 Canadians detained, but there's like 13 Canadians. There's also that woman in Germany or something that was being, charged for like hate crime or whatever. It's like they pick and choose, and that's what kind of bothers me about it. And it's like, yeah, it's good that she's clear. I'm glad that, she could be used. Definitely. I'm not saying we need to use her, but like just her being inherently against Islam is a good thing, because a bunch of these ignorant liberals are going to follow her, assuming that she's kind of like, left wing. And then they're going to maybe hear some of the shit she's saying about Islam, and that might kind of red pill them a little bit and maybe at least get them to start to question it and be like, okay, maybe Islam isn't a religion of peace, whatnot, right? Clearly it isn't, spread by the sword for its entire existence since like 700 AD. But there was a couple other stories about, Muslims, I guess. Toronto imam is issuing religious marriages certificates for polygamous relationships. So, a recent investigation by the Fifth Estate has revealed that a Toronto mosque has been issuing marriage certificates for Muslims in polygamous relationships. Polygamy is illegal in Canada under Section 293 of the Criminal Code. However, it is rarely prosecuted by the legal system, right? And it's like, why is that? Why is it rarely prosecuted? Because there's definitely tons of cases. The police could easily figure this shit out, but they're like, it's okay. Where it's like, no, this is not okay. I decided to have a marriage again, to take a second wife, says the undercover reporter to Imam Ali Hindi. We have no problem with the government because this is nikah, a Muslim marriage. There is no problem, says the imam. We are not going to register. If you register, then it is illegal because you're already married. When confronted with the video in his statement, Imam Ali Hindi says that you can't prevent polygamy. So he's like, you can't prevent it. So, and that's true. They're going to do it, whether we make it illegal or not. They're going to do it behind closed doors, without our supervision. We're not going to make it illegal. Good luck. The solution is preventative, right? Not having these people in our country from the very beginning, right? That would be better. I used to be friends with Saudi girl on Periscope. She was in a similar situation. She was a staunch atheist, right? It's good. These are powerful allies to have, right? But, I'm just saying, like, I'm glad that we took her, but obviously the only reason we took her was for a virtue signal on behalf of Trudeau, and be like, oh, we're such great people and stuff, while he's like, throwing our money away and like not giving or letting us keep any of it ourselves. People in Alberta desperately need help too. They're losing jobs. And then his reaction is like, oh, well, we're giving you welfare. We're helping you too. But it's like, whatever. But, it's still good. I'm glad for her. Obviously, I don't want her to go back to her country and like suffer and die and shit. Like that's horrible. We can handle one extra person. And clearly she's anti-Islam. So that's a good thing. And if we are going to take refugees, the people who we should be taking are the atheists and the fucking Christians, because these people are the ones that are persecuted in those countries. These people are the ones that are being killed and that are, discriminated against, whatnot. And but instead we're taking a bunch of people that are Muslims instead. It's like it makes absolutely no fucking sense. AJ, have you acknowledged the increase of hate crimes against immigrant communities? You mean a lot of these fake hoax hate crimes? And also, a lot of crimes that are done against white people are not designated as hate crimes, even though they probably should be when if they use the same reasoning behind other hate crimes. That they're like, oh, this is a hate crime. Clearly, this is a hate crime. And a lot of the Jewish hate crimes, there was some guy that called in 2,000 fake anti-Semitic crimes. There was another thing where a bunch of, cemeteries were fallen over. And they're like, oh, a bunch of Jewish cemeteries. And they just fell over from time. Nobody kicked them. There was a couple other fake hoaxes with guys from Israel calling in. They're rampant. Plus, like I said, you never ever see anything designated as a hate crime against a white person, ever, right? It's almost impossible. So these numbers that they show, it's like, okay, it's like get the fuck out of here, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. And it's like I said all the time, most people who come to Canada come here voluntarily. So clearly this is better than your country. Otherwise you would leave because of all the discrimination and hatred in the evil white people that are hurting you and discriminate. You would leave and go back to your country, but you don't. So clearly it's not that bad. It's just more victimization, more give me bullshit. And I can't fucking take it. Anytime these people, they cite these numbers just to manipulate you and be like, oh, see, you're bad. See, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, like I said, a lot of these hate crime statistics are complete nonsense anyways. Mike, and you were right. It will set a precedent. All Hindi is very radical imam in Scarborough, which is Islam heavy. Yeah, right. There's a lot of fucking heavy Islamic preachers and stuff there. Definitely. What was there another one here? I think. And oh yeah, they're also now. There's a story. If you've noticed, they're starting to talk about yellow vest and stuff more now, and starting to try to demean them, make them seem like they're all violent. Well, thank you, Rainy Steps, for the donations. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate every time you donate. Just remember, thank you very much, man. Jay, liberals say that racism is based on the power structure. Do you think that's true? You mean power plus prejudice? No, it's not. No, I don't think that's true. I think that, it's just, if you're judging somebody based primarily, like an individual based primarily on their skin color or this or that, then yeah, you're being fucking racist. Now, when it comes to groups, we need to consider certain group differences, right? When it comes to individuals, we need to judge them by the character, their character, not necessarily by their skin. But when it comes to big, large groups, it's better to kind of take into consideration differences in statistics and whatnot. Like, Muslims, they make up like 1% of Americans' population, 0.9, yet they commit 26% of the terrorism. And, that's domestic terrorism. They're not even considering 9/11 and all these other things. So that is something we need to consider when you're bringing a lot of people into your country, right? Give me that, Gibbs. Let's take as many South African farmers. You're right. You know what I mean? That's another thing, the South African farmers. But they're like, oh, they're not real refugees. South Africa has a high crime rate anyways. Oh, these black people get killed too, even though you see like the government being like, we're going to take their land. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's ridiculous. You can't, maybe, one sec here. Put you move. I don't know why. Sorry, Jane. I don't know why, dead man. Sorry, dude. I told Anarchor yesterday to get the hell out of here. I know, man. I don't know what the fuck is Anarchor. He had a video, or he left a comment. I don't even know if I should say this, but like, I don't know. This is somebody, don't attack him. Don't do anything like that. But like, he left a comment on my video. He's like, oh, I hope your people die in Canada. Like the people, your people killed my people. And I was like, what? My people didn't kill your people? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like this guy's a retard. I don't know. He's like a national socialist or something. And it's like, he's always arguing with me with stupid shit. And it's like, I somehow called that he didn't have a job. And I'm like, if you actually start to work, because he's always like, he sounds like a socialist. And I'm like, man, once you start to work, you'll understand that not every boss is some like evil dictator, blah, 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 right? Like, for example, my boss right now, he gave my brother Jules a fucking, like, he paid off his debt. And he's like, oh, you just have to pay me back, but interest free. Okay. Then the other day he bought him like a gym membership for free, because he's like, oh, I think you need a new hobby or something. Here's a gym membership, but it's like, they're not all terrible people, but I called that he didn't work. And he's like, oh, I would never work my entire life. I would never give to this system. I'm like, get out of here, you fucking parasite. It's like, get out of here. You're one of the problems. You're one of the problems in society. It's these parasites who think that you don't need to work. Okay. Like, we need to work. Nothing in life is free. Absolutely nothing. Right. It's only natural that we do work. Hey, Luke, how's it going? But, it's like, in nature, if you're an animal and you just sit still and you don't do anything, you'll starve to death, because no other animals are going to bring you food and shit. You actually have to stand up, walk, and get your own water, get your own food. And it's the same in life today. Like, unless you're very lucky, most of us have to work for a living. Unless you're rich and you have money here or there or whatever, we all have to do something. And that's not bad. That's not, you don't have to be like, when you're younger, like, oh, I feel like a slave because I have to work and all these things. But it really comes down to perception and how you look at things. And, you don't have, we don't need to be like professional and stuff and whatnot to feel, like your life is fulfilled and whatnot. And that's kind of what people believe a lot nowadays. Like, oh, I need to do all this and, whatnot. But it's like, really, what's more important is family and having a good family. You don't have to, and most of us, we're not all going to be like crazy athletes, crazy actors and models and all these other things. So we have to learn how to be content with our station in life. And that's why I do like philosophy. And that's why I like stoicism a lot too, because when my brother like passed away and whatnot, like stoicism, because I'm not Christian, right? I'm an atheist. These types of philosophies helps you kind of understand and to be like, not to focus on things you can't change, but focus on things that you're able to change. And it's funny, that's the exact same quote from Christianity. It's like the focus on things you can change and not the things you can't, or whatever. I can't remember how it exactly goes, but that's the one message I got from stoicism. And that, definitely helped me. And it helps you kind of like that doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for more and strive to better yourself. But, we all have certain limitations and stuff, and that's okay. We're all fucking different. But that doesn't mean we can't have a happy, fulfilled life. You can be a janitor and be a fucking extremely happy person and have a very fulfilling life with a wife and children. And that's all you need. You don't need to be all these other things per se, but that's kind of like, one of the things that makes us into like consumerist. And that's how we get manipulated by people. Cause it's just like, oh, we need a credit card. So we need to buy a car and a house that we can't afford. And now we're all on debt. And now it's like, now we're easily controlled because you can't rock the boat. A lot of these university students, they get into massive debt. Then they have to go get a job and they have to listen and do and get paid whatever they get paid because they need that job to pay off their student debt. So then at that point, you're essentially a slave. You become a slave to materialist objects, to things that we often don't need, right? But should rethink atheism. Also use an addiction program. Stoics are the rocks of the world. Yeah, right. I like Stoicism, and I like to, I haven't looked into it a hell of a lot, but I like, as from what I read, I did like it. Right. I think a lot of people, it's like, think we can't raise children off of less, right? And that's the thing. One of the bad things with white people as well is that we don't have kids because we think we don't have enough for it. But we used to have really high birth rates when it's like, we were much poorer and our circumstances were much worse. But for some reason, we've been kind of convinced that we need all of these things to raise kids and all this thing, but no, we don't need as much as we think we do. Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much, Julie, for your donation. That is huge. Really, oh my God. Great job, AJ. Thank you for all you do for freedom. No, thank you, Julie. I really appreciate your channel and all the other Canadian YouTubers that are speaking up and saying something now, because I remember a couple of years ago, there was practically nobody, almost nobody, talking about Canadian politics and all these things. And I was kind of like, oh, all you really had to choose from was American type stuff. And you're like, that was interesting. But, I'm like, I really wish people would start talking about Canada and stuff in Canada. And now we have like Julie Mora. So if you don't know who she is, go to her channel. James Nationalist. Didn't you recently, James, get one of your videos put in a community guideline strike because I think you were talking about the Islamic Party of Ontario? So if you, I'm pretty sure that was you, James. But if so, go to his channel, subscribe, go to Julie's, Old White Guy, Joe Haze, Brance, Derek, Kelly Day. There are tons of people that make great content. Lots of people I'm forgetting too. Don't think I'm purposely excluding you if I don't mention your name. It's just there's a lot more people now that make great content, and that's great. That's why I want to promote as many people as I possibly can, because it's like, whoever makes the best content, I think people should go to. I don't care if people make everybody else goes to other people other than me and stuff, because it's like, whoever informs Canadians the best. And that's why I'm pro free market, pro competition, pro freedom, all these things, because it just makes a better product. It makes, better things. It keeps people better informed. So, there's also, the Northern Patriot. And although I haven't seen, I don't know if he's started to make content again. And thank you, Rainey, too. Really appreciate everybody who ever donates. I don't ever expect any donations or anything like that. And whenever I get them, I'm just like astounded that anybody would want to give me anything. So it's like, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I know it's hard-earned money that you guys make, that that you're giving voluntarily, right? And that's a good thing. But when it's taken from us, like what the government does, then you see what it gets spent on. Don't make fun of my mason jar, okay? This is a sturdy cup. It works. It's good. It does what it needs to do. Everybody always rags on it every time. I can't help it. I'm gonna, that's why I need your donations, is so I can buy actual cups for my kitchen and stuff, because I'm using jars. I'm using like sticks for forks and stuff. I need your donations. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Oh, it's so good. I have a horrible internet. Yeah, you got to get decent internet for this stuff, right? And depending on where you live, Canada, there's, we're like a third world country with some internet areas, right? It's like, just, when I go to my dad's, it's terrible. I have to he lives in the country, in like St. Lazare area. If you've ever heard of it, probably not, because it's a little tiny town in Manitoba, but it's, I have to go there and hold my phone in the air and like walk around in circles to see if I get, a signal. It's like, usually I don't, it cuts out continuously. But yeah, St. Lazare. St. Lazare, see, that my grandpa, my great-great-grandpa actually founded that town, and or one of the first people founded that. And I was looking him up, and he had something to do with a residential school, and I was like, shit, damn it, oops. But oh well. How's things in Winterpeg? It's actually not too bad. The weather isn't too horrible this year. We've actually had a really mild winter, so that is good, considering I work outside, so it's not so bad. Oh, you have friends in St. Lazare, really? Yeah, I'm related to like practically everybody in that town. That's good. That's one of the reasons why it's a good, why sometimes you should move away. Or like they date people from other towns, like over and whatnot, like from Birtle or Russell. Yeah, you played hockey against them. Yeah, there's a couple of St. Lazares. There's another one in like Quebec, I'm pretty sure, as well. But I think yeah. So unless you're talking about the St. Lazare in Quebec, because if that's the case, then I'm talking about the one in Manitoba, because I know there's a couple different ones, and the one in Manitoba is like a town of 300-400 people, right? It's super small. It's like in the center of a valley, where at the Capel Valley, where all these 3 valleys connect into one. Thank you, Elena Lee, for your donation, for a new cup. Oh my God, thank you. I appreciate. Never commented before, but me and my hubby watch a lot. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you guys continue to watch in the future, and thank you for your donation. Thank you very much. Mine are in Quebec. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know there's one in Quebec, but thank you again, Elena. Thank you very much. Played on the Winnipeg Selects in Manitoba Bison at 13-14. Yeah, see, I've never actually really played too much hockey, so a lot of people, I've never really been too much into it, and people are like, "Oh, you're not really Canadian." It's like, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, no, that's okay, Julie. But no, it's a great little town, little French town, although they speak like, franglais, essentially, it's comment ça va, là? You there, and they had some like English in there, but it's funny. It's a great town. I visit there pretty much every year, and I wanted to make some videos of there because my dad lives right in the valley type area, and you can go up on top and take a video of it. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's one of the nicest places in Manitoba, because if you've been here, it's like flat and boring. Yeah, it's a little French town. It's St. Lazare, and that's the only old French town around there. Then there's like a Birtle or Russell, a bunch of English, or German, whatever. But yeah, that's my heritage. Although I was looking up my heritage, and some of it I might come from Ireland, or it might be parts my at one point Ireland, but originally they all came from France, both sides. Oh, thank you, Lolly D, for cutlery. Save the sticks. Yeah, I was only kidding about that, guys. I don't actually need cutlery. I'm using plastic forks. No, I'm kidding. But no, thank you very much for your donation. I really appreciate that. How are the mosquitoes out there? Oh, the mosquitoes here are pretty bad. Although last year they weren't too bad, but generally they're not too good. And then we have a bunch of environmentalists that don't want anything sprayed, so they're like, don't spray. And then we have even more mosquitoes. So but I'm kind of like, if that stuff is cancerous, then I don't really want it sprayed around either. But we need to do something about the fucking goddamn mosquitoes, because they are relentless, because it's like a swamp in Winnipeg. Like Winnipeg, just the temperatures get like, really hot and humid, and they're really cold because of like where we are located, like in the world. Yeah. Oh yeah, right. There's vodka in there. But yeah, I think there's Irish, and I think on my grandpa's side there might be one of somebody from Spain or something. So, but generally I think most of it is from France. Ooh, Leblanc. I descended from the original settlers on both sides of my family. Leblanc arrived in 16. Oh, nice. Wow. Right. So it's like, that's why I really hate when we get compared, like our ancestors, what Trudeau does all the time, to like the immigrants right now. Like, oh, our ancestors were fleeing religious persecution and all these other things too. And just like these people trying to make it, it's like, no, these are not the same. Our ancestors were settlers. These people like created like my ancestors came from France. And they were told to come here, and they're like, if you don't produce the land that produces food and stuff, then you have to come back. Then we'll send you back to France. So it's like they had to actually produce something in order to stay. It's like just a little plot of land, live it, till it, make it, and then yada yada yada. But it's not at all the same, because there's not all these welfare programs that we have today, and all these immigrant programs that as soon as they land, it's like, hey, here, come to this. Oh, here, come to all the universities and the museums and the cultural centers for free. Oh, here's this. Oh, don't worry, we'll set you up with housing, right away. Like, how many immigrants come to Canada and immediately go and are homeless? I don't think very many, if any at all. So, it's not the same as people who came here and probably died through starvation, through freezing, because they were exploring, trying to find new lands, new territory, getting killed by the natives and shit. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about comparing this to that? And that's not to say that the people coming and immigrants here are bad or whatever, but I'm like, just the comparison is an insult, right? It's a fucking insult to the people who created the country. So, oh, this is unceded Aboriginal Algonquin land, blah blah blah. It's like that's bullshit. Okay, no, it's not. It's not their land. They never claimed it. You own what you can defend, and what that's what it is. You own what you can defend at the end of the fucking day. Meant for you and me. Yeah. Right. Well, it's like, yeah. Our ancestors are the ones who came here, and we should have final say over what goes on in our country, right? And that kind of brings me to a story I was going to talk about, and it was the ethnic. So Canadian politicians will court the ethnic vote, but will it benefit any one party? So obviously it will benefit the Liberals, but the Conservatives will try their very best, and it won't work. But visible minorities form majority in 41 federal ridings, but experts say immigrants are politically diverse, which is not true. It's like, you keep saying that, but it's like, oh, no, we actually were very politically diverse. And no, they're not. Maybe when it comes to provincial city elections, but when it comes to things that really matter, like the votes federally and on immigration, They consistently vote fucking left. So, that is a huge problem. But one sec here. Where's the story? Abdi Kir Ahmed vividly remembers casting his ballot for the first time in Winnipeg's 2010 municipal election. Not only was he excited, he had an entourage. I brought my family, I brought my kids, I brought everyone, Ahmed said. It was the first time in my life that I voted. The 39-year-old Winnipeg resident arrived in Canada from Somalia as a refugee in 2003. It took several years before he could legally vote as a Canadian citizen, but he was eager to do so. So, that's another thing. It's like, I always see this shit, and it's like, do any refugees ever go back to their countries? Do they ever go back to their countries? I don't think they ever do. All the 40,000 Syrians we brought here, they are never going to go back. Syria is fine now. It's getting better, but they will never go back. AJ, your purpose is to work to phase taxes for immigrant incentives, rewards, and benefits. Yeah, and that's what we are, the tax slaves for the leftist, essentially. AJ, what is your opinion on government shutdown? I want that to go on as long as fucking possible. I do not care about government workers, to be honest. Keep doing it. Keep going and going and going. Fuck it. And it kind of reveal that everybody working for the government is a Democrat or the left, because it's not going to affect Trump's popularity in the least, or his vote, because generally most conservatives don't work for the government. So maybe some do, but it's all going to be people who are all union workers, all people who don't fucking need. And the funny thing is, they're showing all these parks. They're like, oh, it's shit everywhere. Look at, there's shit everywhere in the bathrooms. But there's some towns that are all getting together to clean it up, and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing it ourselves. We actually don't need these people to do it. They're like, oh, they do a great job, but we can do it on our own. So a lot of these jobs we could do, and it's like, it might fuck over some people right now because there's a monopoly on certain industries that the government doesn't allow other people to come in and replace the services that they are providing, right? But like the TSA or some shit, right? And they're all leaving some bullshit. And it's like, do we need the TSA? Do we need these people, patting your nuts down and stuff? No, we were fine before. A lot of the times, a lot of this stuff is unnecessary, takes up a lot of time. You could do it with a lot less people. And that's essentially what it will prove. It'll prove like, oh, wait, a lot of things can go on. But, they're like, oh, it's Trump's shutdown. It's Trump's shutdown. It's like, yeah, technically, but, if the liberals were just work with the wall and stuff, but obviously they're never going to do that. So I don't know what's going to happen, because I can't ever see the liberals or the Democrats in America ever saying that, like, okay, fine, we agree to a wall, like, no matter what. I don't know. I'm really interested to see, but I want to see this get taken as far as it possibly can. I hope Trump doesn't concede on this, because honestly, he needs to do something. If he does not push this, he will not win a re-election. People will not be invigorated to go vote for him if he doesn't deliver somewhat on this wall, at least partially, right? If he doesn't get the ball rolling somehow, it's going to be really difficult for him to motivate enough people to win. What do I think of the Saudi girl? Well, like I said, it's good that she's here and stuff, and I think it's good that she's kind of like anti-Islam and whatnot, and she could be a good voice. But obviously, if that's true, then they're just going to be like, oh, she's here, and they're going to now ignore her when she's here, because she says, like, I want to eat bacon. Like, if you look at her Twitter, she's like, I can't wait to eat some bacon. And I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. And she's also talking about, like, Islam and whatnot. So, that's good. But yeah, let's see a little bit more of this story here. If you guys got a question, just highlight it. So then when I come back and I'll scroll, then I'll see it. But a 39-year-old Winnipeg resident arrived in Canada from Somalia. But like I said, like, these people have no intention to leave. I feel that I have a responsibility to decide the direction that this country goes in, said Ahmed. And it's like, really, I feel that I have responsibility to decide the direction that this country goes in. And, honestly, I really do think people should not be allowed to vote until they're like second or third generation. Like, that might sound bad, but I think that should be true because, for people to live here as a fucking refugee, becoming a citizen or even a legal immigrant, being like, I feel like I have a right to say where the direction of this country goes. It's like, it's like, but then people, oh, he's a citizen just like you or me. He's just like you or me. It's like, okay, but it's like my ancestors were here for a really long time. Are you gonna say that like we're exactly the same? Like, I don't think so. People can say whatever they want and say that's hateful and mean, but no, that's bullshit. That's honestly bullshit. But I feel that I have responsibility to decide the direction the country goes in. Now he runs Immigration Partnership Winnipeg, an organization that helps immigrants and refugees get settled in that city. So, so that's the thing, right? It's like a bunch of people come from different countries, and they spend their time and resources helping other minorities and refugees and all these things coming to settle in Canada, in Winnipeg. Because trust me, there's been a massive fucking influx in Winnipeg that I've seen. When I go out and look around in my area and shit now, it's like, it looks like I'm from fucking Africa or some shit sometimes. But like, instead of going to help the homeless that are here in Canada, they spend their time and resources helping other people. And that's not bad. I'm not saying like, oh, you're an evil person for doing that, because of course they would. Right? Of course they would. But is that going to be good for Canada? Is that going to be good for us in the long term? No, I don't think so. I think we need to help the people that are here now. Yeah. We don't need another Muslim woman pounding gender identity politics. I want to burn it to the ground. What do you mean gender identity politics? Like the her saying that she's, but it's not really, to my opinion, it's not gender identity politics when it comes to Islam and saying the truth, saying that like, I'm a woman and because I don't want to be like a whore to some dude or be, whatnot, subservient slave. They're trying to kill me. And I think that's true, right? That is true. So I don't really think it's necessarily pandering, right? But what else is here? Now he runs Immigration Partnership Winnipeg. It becomes conventional wisdom in Canada politics that immigrant voters can have a powerful influence in elections. So, our politicians know this. According to Ahmed, immigrants, new or long settled, are a potentially powerful block of voters. It actually makes sense to court the so-called immigrant vote because that is determining factors and it's a growing population, said Ahmed. So essentially, it's important to play identity politics because we are taking over your country, said Ahmed. That is what he really said. That is what he actually said. Like, it actually makes sense to court the so-called immigrant vote because that is the determining factor and it's a growing population. Yeah, they're taking over and play up to the identity politics of the immigrants, which is exactly what Trudeau and his administration and whatnot are doing, right? But let's see here. But as the battle begins for this New Year's federal election, experts say no party has a monopoly on any particular ethnic group or religious minority. Myth or reality? This is the question. Canada's major parties have been competing for immigrant voters since the 1960s, according to University of Toronto political science professor Phil Triadiphalopoulos, whatever his name is. The main source of immigration were different then, but the dynamics were very similar. It's an urban Canadian story, said whatever the fuck this guy's name is. In the 2019 federal election, ridings in Toronto, the Vancouver are considered key battlegrounds that make or break a party. Both have high Chinese and South Asian populations, but they aren't the only cities where politicians are courting ethnic voters. So, it's funny how they phrase it, courting ethnic voters. So it's like playing identity politics, being leftist SJWs and being like, oh, fucking, I'm for minorities. Oh, I'm for this, and well, the white racism. That's how they court these people a lot of the time. Oh, we're gonna give you more money. We're gonna increase programs or increase family reunification. But Andrew Griffith, a fellow Canadian Global Affairs Institute Environment. Oh wait, is this the same thing here? One sec. Oh yeah, okay. In the 2019 federal election. Key battlegrounds, both have Chinese, but they aren't the only cities. Andrew Griffith, a fellow of the Canadian Global Affairs Institute of the Enviro-Nix Institute, says data on immigration and ethno-cultural diversity from 2016 census shows many Canadian communities now have a larger percentage of visible minority residents than 2011. So, and only like 5 years, we've had a huge increase of 338 federal ridings in Parliament. 41 have populations where visible minorities form the majority, compared with 33 5 years earlier. So that's crazy. Like in only 5 years, it goes from 33 to 41. What the fuck is it now? It's only been, and this is census numbers from 2016. So it's been 3 years almost. What the fuck are the numbers now? It's probably, much higher. Parties, when they're developing their electoral strategies, take that into account in terms of how they advocate policies and programs to attract them. So, that's why I hate democracy. So I hate politics, because it's like they just pander to different groups. They're telling us this in the articles, like, oh, well, this is going to shape the way they form their policies and platforms. Why does it shape? Like if you just ran on principles and like your ideology, what you actually believe, public opinion really shouldn't affect your position whatsoever. My positions, the majority of the public disagrees with. Doesn't make me think I'm wrong. But I think I saw a question. AJ, how do the Aboriginals feel about all the wonderful diversity? Fuck, I have no idea. That I'm sure they just have such a chip on their shoulder. I have no clue what they even think about that, because it's just like, the colonizer. You're a colonizer. You stole our land. Like there's some sympathy in that, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, we got to get over that. We got to move past that. We need to unite to some extent and be like, okay, you're never going to get your fucking land back. You don't want your land back. You're not going to go and live on the goddamn prairies hunting buffalo like you used to do. It's not going to happen. So just, enough with this bullshit. Enough with these treaties. Enough with these goddamn, funding reservations in the middle of nowhere. I think that should all be stopped, right? I think everybody should be equal under the law. Everybody completely equal. There's no special privilege class like Aboriginals who get this free this, free hunting, free schooling, free this, free that. No, none of that bullshit. Okay. But even this article, like, it's kind of you saying, it's like, oh, the amount of immigrants coming in are going to form the platforms. And it's like, see, all the Aboriginals we already have here, it forms the NDP liberal platform. They're like, oh, don't worry, we're going to give you tons of welfare. We're going to put you up in healing lodges where you don't really have to be in a prison. You're going to be in a nice, comfortable place without fences. And then the whole time they're always complaining about how underprivileged they are, whereas nobody else gets to go in these fucking healing lodges. Nobody else gets all of this shit. But it's like, ugh. Like, how many white people would be taking advantage of free university or free schooling, whereas like a lot of them don't take advantage of this shit, but they have it given to them, or free, all this other crap that they get, fishing and hunting. How many people that I know would love to get a free, be able to fish and get as many fish and fucking animals as they want. Like those people would not even, they would save so much money. They would not have to go to the grocery store. But it's like, no, 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 no. You're a white man. You're a white man, and you got to get punished. And we're going to give these special privileges to these people because you stole their fucking land. And it's like, this is bullshit. It's like, okay, if we leave, then we're going to take everything with us and like bulldoze. That's the only thing. It's like, if that's the case, that's how it comes down. It's like, okay, let's bulldoze all of the buildings and what do you call it? Get rid of, demolish all of it, and then we'll leave. And we'll be like, okay, well, build it up yourself now. Have fucking fun. And then it'll be like some third world nation. They'll be like, oh, come back. And it'll be like, no. You want us gone, we're gone. But parties, when they're developing their electoral strategies, take that into account. What's more difficult is pinning down whether immigrant voters have partisan preferences. Like, how's this even a question? It's like, no, of course they're partisan. And this guy said he's a part of a nonpartisan group, which is laughable. New Canadians could once be counted on to vote Liberal ever since Pierre Trudeau opened the door to more immigration in the 1970s. So like father, like son, opening the fucking doors to the country. But that unwavering endorsement became less pronounced over the past decade. He said that, like, in certain parties, Sikh Canadians, for example, have a general tendency to vote Liberal and NDP, while Conservatives enjoy more support among Chinese Canadians. But that's just more support. That's not like, huge numbers. Cat hair, sorry. But Griffin cautions we should never make the assumption that all members of the community are identical and behave the same way, whether it be in the polling booth or in other aspects. In Winnipeg, Ahmed says it shouldn't even be assumed new immigrants will exercise their franchise. He's working to mobilize visible minorities and newcomers who have an earned citizenship to vote in this year's federal election. So it's like, he's spending all his time, and it's like, they're going to say it's nonpartisan, but they're all being mobilized to vote for Trudeau. He's getting all the visible minorities and newcomers. Many newcomers have never voted in their own countries or have engaged in an electoral process. They are not transparent, so do not actually trust the process and don't see the importance of voting, said Ahmed. To encourage refugees and immigrants to vote in last fall's municipal election, Ahmed's nonpartisan group, nonpartisan group launched an electoral campaign with the slogan, "Got citizenship, go vote." Immigration Partnership Winnipeg developed posters and videos on how and where to vote that were translated in 12 different languages and concentrated on ethno-cultural community organizations to get the message out. So, 12 different languages in all these different communities, they're sending these messages out. And it's like, okay, once again, if you can't speak English or French, you shouldn't even be allowed to vote. We need more restrictions. If you can't, if you need, why the fuck are there different? Shouldn't these people should know how to speak English or French at the very goddamn least to be able to vote? Because how do you know what the hell is going on in a goddamn country? Pretty much, are you watching just the news with subtitles? I guess I guess you could stay informed or whatever. But it's crazy. It's like how we just allow practically anybody to be a Canadian and stuff. It's like, oh, there's people in Richmond who speak only Chinese and they've been here for like 10 or so years. And you're like, what is your problem? Like something is seriously wrong for you if you don't know how to speak our language yet. But here, where is this? Where's this thing here? Canada. The message. Okay. And this, he brings up this is kind of fucked up here. So, for example, when the federal Tories campaigned in 2015 on policies such as banning the niqab at citizenship ceremonies or setting up the barbaric cultural practices tip line, Ahmed says it spurred newcomers to vote against them. The messaging from the Conservative Party came across as anti-immigrant, said Ahmed. Certain very racist policies like the Barbaric Cultural Practices Act tip line woke up communities to actually say, we cannot tolerate this in our country. Our country. You see that? See how people that, this is his country now. Sorry. the cat hair. But it's like, this is his country, you know, and they're not going to have a barbaric cultural practices tip line, which, like, you know, tips people on people performing FGM, female genital mutilation on girls, or being in like polygamous relationships, doing all this stuff. And they're like, you know, this is we're against the barbaric. And it's like, anybody who's against that, we don't want in our country. If you're against, you know, a tip line reporting people who are abusing young girls or boys and stuff, then you're a terrible fucking person. That is just the truth. If you are against these types of things, you're fucked in the head. And we don't want these types of people creating the foundation of Canadian society in the future. The way that our country, the why we have so many freedoms, is because the foundation of our country is Western. It is made up of Western people. Now, if you change that foundation to a Muslim foundation, you're no longer going to have a lot of the things that we have today. Just look at the Islamic Party of Ontario. Doesn't matter what some Muslims are going to tell you. Oh, no, we don't really like that, want that. Bullshit, okay? Maybe you don't, okay? But generally, just look around the fucking world. If a lot of you guys didn't really want that, that wouldn't be the case in your own countries. You know, it wouldn't be a death sentence to be gay or an atheist in like half of your goddamn countries if this was the fucking case. But it is. But, you know, he's like, certain racist policies like the Barbaric Cultural Practices Act and the tip line woke up communities to actually say we cannot tolerate this in our country. It's a point echoed by Triadafililopoulos, whatever his name is, who suggests large numbers of immigrant voters is one of the reasons Canada has not experienced the same kind of See, this is a weird thing too, right? It's like, and this is probably just going to get worse because he's like, this guy who suggests large numbers of immigrant voters is one of the reasons Canada has not experienced the same kind of xenophobic populism sweeping Europe and the United States. The demographic and institutional facts in Canada just make it a losing proposition. So what he's saying is that we are already too diverse in Canada, that if you say anything about diversity, if you say anything about this stuff, then you're going to be punished in the polls. And we can't be swept up with Islamic phobia like what's going on in Europe and in America right now. You know, it's like, no, you're going to see that fucking change real fucking quick. People are going to change their opinions real fucking quick. But, you know, that's just a bullshit article. And it's like, just more or less explaining how politicians are now going to start playing identity politics like crazy. But, you know, if anybody has a question, just put AJ Lissus in the chat and I'll read it, you know, right now, because I'll finish that article. But there's a few other things I wanted to cover. Next comes the National Islamic Party of Canada. Fleeing the country. Julie Mora took advantage. Last night we had a stabbing here in my concrete block 2 days before. We had 5-7 Muslims raping a 4-year-old girl. Jesus Christ. Where was this? That's fucked up, man. Canada's lost until a civil war comes. We will not be Lebanon. Yeah. I thought you joined the IPU. What was a joke? No, I did join the Islamic Party of Ontario. Like, that is my party now. I am, you know, promoting their stuff. I think that we should all have multiple wives because, you know, as we see with the Me Too era, women are getting out of hand, and we need to bring in white Sharia and put them back in their place. No, I'm kidding. But no, I'm not part of IPU or anything like that. That a lot of people, I was going to make a video about that because I got so many comments. What are you, a retard? You think the Islamic Party of Ontario is a good thing? Oh, you're an idiot. I'm like, watch the fucking video more than just reading the title and commenting. And I was like, Jesus Christ, at least half the comments are like, oh, you're so stupid. Oh my God. I'm I'm like, man, like just watch the fucking thing instead of commenting. And I'm like, this makes me lose hope in you people. And I'm just like what the hell? Like, I even wrote ... for now, as in like, for now, before it gets out of hand. Like, it's kind of like it. Do you want them to stay quiet and say nothing until it's too late, until they're a much larger percentage of the population, where now you questioning it or attacking it is going to be less effective because they're going to have a larger group to mobilize against you and say like, oh, you're racist or whatever, right? You want to talk about it now, right? And and they're even leaving stuff out. They phrase it a certain way to make it seem like, oh, okay, but like, what does under God mean for them? What does justice mean for a Muslim person? What do certain words that me and you think we know what the meanings are? These other people have different definitions of them. So when they write like, no, we're all for mercy and justice, it's like, what do you mean by mercy? Like cutting the head off quickly, without pain and suffering. Mercy. I'm like, that's not mercy in from where I come from, but when you come from, that's mercy, right? So it's like people use these shady, secret, these words, it's kind of like, no, we're only going to be doing it under God and just and whatnot. I drink wine from mason jars. They don't smash on the floor. Yeah, exactly. They're strong. They're sturdy. You get a free cup out of a old jar. Muslims are told from day one they are enemies. Yeah, right. And I don't know about how each one of them in their household, what they're taught, but how to properly beat your wives, peace be upon Muslims. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important lesson. If maybe we took a few lessons from them, we wouldn't have the problem we have right now with women speaking out of place and stuff, right? If we just took a few of their lessons, that there'd be no Me Too thing. There's no Me Too in Saudi Arabia, Okay, I'm kidding. I'm joking. But there was a couple of things. Oh yeah. What, speaking of Me Too here, okay, thousands of dads are left in shock as DIY paternity tests soar. So something like 20% of men will learn they are not the father of the child they are testing. So 1 in 4 men, or 1 in 5 men, apparently, because of all these, 23andMe tests, are finding out that a lot of their kids are not actually theirs, and they're raising kids that are not their own kids. And that's crazy. And this is a huge problem. And there's all these like feminist groups that are trying to sue or trying to make it illegal to get these tests without like a court order and all this stuff, because in a lot of places, like a little kid or a person can just get it whenever they want, and they want to make this like really hard for them to get, because there's a bunch of these fucking whore women making these guys raise kids who think it's their own. There's this one guy who had cystic fibrosis, right? And this is the same disease my brother had, right? And it makes you sterile. And this guy found out that he had it or something, that he's been sterile his whole life. And he's been raising these 3 kids. And this is this rich guy. What was his name? I got the story, but it's like, and now his kids, they're like, oh, he's manipulative and an asshole. But it's like, man, he's been raising you guys for years. His wife lied about it. He's been raising these fucking, other kids who he thought were his own, but still, it's like they don't like him and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like it's your mom. Your mom is the one that's the bitch. She's the one that cheated. But here's the story. It's from the Daily Mail, but whatever you think of them, because a lot of people, oh, the Daily Mail, but but yeah, like that's crazy to me that 1 in 5 guys are raising kids that are not their own. I'm like, that's insane, and that would piss me off so fucking much. And it's no wonder You know, if they're just like, violence against women is going to go up if this information gets out, I guess. Definitely, right? It's like, what the fuck? And thank God for these new DNA tests and stuff, right? Makes it a little bit easier to find these things. So something like the leading British homes test suppliers say up to 30,000 paternity tests are being performed in this country every year, and that figures are rising by 10% per year. Of these, around 20% of men will learn they are not the father of the child they're testing, says company director David Thomas. He added that in some regions, the figure is higher, including in Northeast, where it is 30%. So in some areas, 30% of women or 30% of men are raising kids that are not their own. That's huge. That's a huge fucking number. How long has this been going on? Right? That's the question I have. Like, how long has this been going on? Fucking, I think a very long time. I suspect they double shadow ban. Yeah, AJ, Mike, but do AJ illicit see it? I suspect. What do I see? I'm gonna miss something. I'm not seeing everything in the chat. So if you guys don't put like maybe AJ and you have something you want to ask me or something, make sure to put it like in the chat so then I'll see it when I come back. But yeah, that just boggles my mind. I'm like, oh my God, the explosion in demand for the test has been fueled by the ease with which definition DNA paternity results can now be obtained for like $100. And it's like 100% accuracy. Instead of requiring a physical presence at a clinic of both parties being tested, they involve only swabs taken from the inside cheeks of a father and child, which are then packaged up and posted to the company. As long as the man is named on the child's birth certificate or has parental responsibilities, no permission is required from either the mother or child, meaning the test can be carried out in total secrecy. So they have a bunch of groups have a problem with this because it's going to expose a bunch of women for being whores. Some websites suggest DNA can be taken from children while they are asleep to avoid awkward questions, particularly if the children are older. Yeah, right. I think a dad has every right to swab his kid's fucking mouth as they're sleeping and to get a paternity test, a DNA test, because you just can't trust people these days. A lot of times you just can't fucking trust people, and it would be a peace of mind, and you would rather find out when that kid is young that he's not your own, instead of finding out when the kid's 20 or 25 that you're not really the dad, and it creates an estranged relationship and all that. It's like, get out of the kid's life now. And it's like, you got to be a horrible person to make another man raise a kid that's not even their own and pretend like it's theirs. Like, you're a bitch. Like, honestly, you're a disgusting person to do that to like a person, right? If to like pretend, oh yeah, it's your kid. And like I said, there's this one guy who thought these were his kids his whole life, and turns out because he has cystic fibrosis, he was sterile, and and then they're trying to make excuses for this. But so in some states, concerns over this has led to a recent ban on DIY home DNA testing, with all tests now having to be ordered by doctor or court official and conducted under their supervision. So, it's like in some states, they're just, I bet you these are all liberal states. So I'm guessing California, Washington, whatever liberal states are going to protect women like this, conducted under supervision. In Britain, there is no such legislation currently being considered. Experts warn that the shock of learning a child is not biologically theirs can lead to severe emotional distress for men. So it's like, oh, we got to keep them ignorant because it could lead to severe emotional distress for them, for which they may not be prepared. Laura House, a genetic genealogist, said that the boom in simple and quick DNA testing has overwhelmed the small number of trained genetic counselors in the UK. There is a profound shortage of trained counselors who can help people deal with what can be devastatingly shocking discovery, she said. People now get, so it's like, we don't have enough psychologists to tell people that their wives are lying to them. People now get life-changing results via email while sitting at home alone in their sofa, and they're often totally unprepared to navigate the fallout. So what is this, an argument against letting people find out if their kids are actually theirs? Like, it's transparent. Last week, the Mail on Sunday revealed the case of MoneySupermarket.com co-founder Richard Mason, who discovered the 3 sons he had raised as his own with his ex-wife were not biologically his. But, Mr. Mason's devastating realization was a result of him being diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, which led doctors to inform him he had been infertile since birth. And it's like, imagine finding that out. You've been infertile since birth, and you're like, wait, but I have like 3 kids. And the doctor's like, no, you don't. Yes, I can see that post. Dieter Johansson, can you see this post? Use the AJ lists. Okay, AJ, can you see this post? No, dude, look at this. What do you want? What do you want, buddy? AJ, do you see this? Oh, yes, I see this. I see your post. Okay, sorry, I was reading the article there. That's so sad. I think the groper is an alien. Dieter, I can see your question. Is that any help? Yeah, I can see. I've been warning for this. Many years. I'm pulling out like this. I can see your post. I can see it. Just if you got a question, just ask it, and I'll go look, because I might just make sure AJ elicits in the thing there. Where was I here? DNA, but yeah, I found out about this guy, and I'm like, that's just bullshit. I don't really want to say too much more about it, because I'm just like, just kind of angers me, right? And you're like, but yeah, his man, it's like, even this guy, after his kids are all like, oh, he's manipulative and all this stuff. It's like, how? Because he revealed your mother for being a whore? And it's like, see, that's the thing. A lot of people, they protect it. They can't question, they can't criticize women. That's a huge problem with people nowadays and stuff. It's like, it's really hard for them to criticize women. Oh, well, she just had no other option, and she really wanted kids, and she had no other choice but to let this other guy stick his dick in her and impregnate her multiple times. But I really wanted kids, but I wanted to stay rich and have kids at the same time. And why am I so? It's like, and then in a lot of these cases, the men, they still have to pay for child support, because they're like, well, you live with the kid, and it's you kind of took on a responsibility, even though you didn't know it was your own kid. You thought it was your own kid. You still got to pay for him. So it's like, no wonder people turn MGTOW or like incel or whatever, when the system treats us like that, when it's like, oh, it's illegal, or you need all this, supervision and court order to get a DNA swab to make sure your kid is your own kid. Like that is insanity, and it's like that guy who found out that his kids weren't even his own, still said, hey, you guys can come over and hang out with me anytime you want. I'd love to have you. But I'm sure the mom is poisoning their kids, and being like, no, he's a piece of shit. He's not, even though he raised you your whole fucking life. It's crazy. Can the doctors prove he was sterile when they were conceived? Well, my brother had cystic fibrosis as well, and he was sterile his whole life as well. So I'm assuming that, yeah, you can, if he has cystic fibrosis, he most likely is sterile. But yeah, it's crazy. People have let women become infantilized, and how they are a disgusting nightmare. Right? It's crazy. I listened to Stiff on Money on the End of Ireland, just awful. Yeah, I watched a little bit of that the other day, but I kind of fell asleep because it was late at night. But what is this? California bans gender in setting car insurance rates. And I just thought that was an interesting thing about insurance because, you know, see, this is the thing with discrimination and stuff. Like, you know, insurance companies, they have to discriminate, right? Like, you know, men and women, you know, have different rates of driving and toxicity and accidents, and you have to charge people different rates and insurance. And there's now a law they're passing there. So now in California, where you can't charge people different amounts. So you know what that's going to do? It's just going to raise the rates for everybody. AJ, read my text. Yeah, I read it. Take care, everyone who is awake and aware here in Canada and abroad. God bless. Well, see you later, Elena Lee. Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate that. And come back anytime, you know, have a discussion. I really appreciate your donation again. Once again, I was late. Yeah, you were late, Happy Fox. That's a problem that you need to rectify immediately. Canada's gone. There's no point living here anymore. Well, you know what, man? You can't think like that, dude. You really can't, because as soon as you think like that, then you just become, you know, you do nothing. You stop moving. You're like, well, you may as well just slit your wrist, right? At that point, if you're like, it's all over. It's all fuck. We're fucked. You know, it's like, you know, you may as well just kill yourself at that point, right? James, I could get 3 jobs right out of school too. Summer jobs called me. Young men are higher risk. Yeah, exactly. Young men are higher risk, and they should probably pay more for insurance. And then people bring in, you know, racial, how some races pay more. Yeah, because some races, you know, are more accident prone. Some genders, younger men are more accident prone. You know, it's not, people just don't understand that. They don't understand there's differences within groups of people. It's like, oh, but don't judge me based on my race and this and that. It's like, yes, individually, I agree. But when it comes to groups, we have to do that. You know, if you don't, the insurance company is not going to exist anymore. Nobody's going to have insurance, because they're going to be giving everybody insurance at the same rates, even though some groups of people have much higher rates of you know, accidents or whatnot. So they're going to lose out money in the end. There's going to be no or higher rates of insurance for everybody. So, you know, it's stupid. Just people who don't understand economics, right? And that's what bothers me. It's like it's just more proof you see being pushed by the media, and it's like, oh, you know, it's like, no, they have to do that to exist. Oh, it's unfair that they don't cover pre-existing conditions. It's like, you know how long they would stay in business if they did. You know, it's just fucking stupid. But, you know, it's just dumb socialists, right? Just dumb socialists, don't understand anything. What else is here, though? There was this Richard guy. There was, oh yeah, this DNA. I don't know if you guys heard of this. DNA pioneer James Watson stripped of honors after reckless race remarks. So this guy who discovered, so Nobel Prize winning DNA scientist James Watson has been stripped of several honorary titles by laboratory he once headed over his views about intelligence and race. So the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory said it was acting in response to remarks he made in a television documentary which aired earlier this month. The 90-year-old geneticist, one of 3 who discovered the DNA double helix, had lost his job at the New York laboratory in 2007 for expressing racist views. So it wasn't even really racist, but in the new PBS film, American Masters Decoding Watson, he said his views on intelligence and race has not changed since. Yeah, because he's smart. He's not an idiot. But he had told a magazine in 2007 he was inherently gloomy about the prospect of Africa, as all our social policies are based on the fact that their intelligence is the same as ours, where all the testing says not. Really, right? So this is what got him fired. You know, he's like, well, Dr. Watson also said he had hoped everyone was equal. He added, people who have to deal with black employees find this is not true. So I'm like, you know, that guy just speaks completely honestly, right? It's like, It's just the truth, though, right? And it's like, he's like, I'm kind of gloomy about the prospects of Africa. And this guy got the Nobel Peace Prize for the helix, discovering the helix DNA strand or whatever. So it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. If you say something that's kind of racist, then yeah, everything you've done is now thrown out the window, and it's not even racist what he said. It's true. All people are not the same. He's saying a fact. He's like, we're hoping by, this is what they always do. We're like, oh, let's just mix a bunch of people together, and all the white schools, let's throw a bunch of people in white schools, and then they'll all do better, and everybody will do good. That's what will fix everything. It's like, no, it's not as simple as that. Have you ever seen Tariq Fatah address to Canadian Senate Committee? I think I did see that video where I think he was talking to them. Hey, stop with all the damn perks in cars so people actually have to know how to drive and pay attention. Yeah, right? Socialism always leads to starvation and genocide. Yeah, I completely agree, man. I don't think someone should be stripped of their achievements because they believe in something. Right. And it's like, that's what they're progressively doing more and more. It's like that now they're tearing down, like there was just a John A. MacDonald Day. And if you go on Twitter on that day, there's all these people, fuck that colonialist, fuck that, oh, they're racist, oh, we need to destroy and get rid of all these monuments and all the history because he did some mean things to Aboriginal ones. Everything he did was bad and horrible, yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, lots of people all through history have done things that we now consider bad or harmful, but that doesn't mean we need to completely destroy every aspect of their existence, right? It makes no sense. Every socialist party in Europe has been destroyed, but not Denmark. Mark my words, or Hitler's words, the Danes are like us, but behave like English. Next election, we get a national socialist. Yeah, like socialism is rising to some extent. You see that Cortez girl and stuff like that. That is the future of the left-wing party. They're just going to continue moving left and left and left. They're not going to stop. That they just keep going further in that direction. I don't think there's going to be a time where they ever just wake up. Like, we're all waiting for them to be like, oh, maybe they'll just realize all this stuff they're promoting is crazy. But it doesn't seem to be the case. It just seems like they're just like, no, we need more taxes. We need less rights. We need more socialism, not less socialism. And it's like, they see the world and what's going on in the world, and they're blaming capitalism for this. But really, it's corporatism. It's more socialism. It's the policies that they want that are creating the problems a lot of the times. It's not capitalism or whatever. Yeah, National Socialists are pretty fucking stupid too. They're idiots. And, anybody who puts socialist, who uses the term socialist and like, I'm a socialist Democrat, I'm a socialist. Yeah. You're all the same. You all think that government can be used for good, and that somehow, and the anarcho syndicalist or libertarian type, or the anarcho leftist communist, they're the funniest people either too, because it's like, it's so stupid. It's like, how are you going to make everything equal without getting a government to make sure everything is equal? The only way that you can do it is with a massive state. They're like, oh, we want to live in a anarcho-communist society. Well, that's impossible. It's an oxymoron. You cannot have that. You can't have the people enforcing equality without the state. Yes, but you can have anarcho-capitalism. You can have voluntarism, people voluntarily trading without a government, but you can't have everything equal without a government. You can trade voluntarily, you can work together, you can do all these things without a government. But the only way to force the rich to give away more of their money and redistribute it is with a large, powerful state with all of the weapons and the money being used against the people. And if these dumb utopian socialists think that the government's always going to be on their side after they give it all this power, they're stupid. And that's why I'm really hesitant about certain things, like where you're like, okay, we need to do this to make it so we can go and investigate in mosques and do all these things and make it so people can't wear masks in public and stuff like that. Whereas like that seems like a good idea, but it's going to be used against us in the future. Like a mask in public, right? For example, with Antifa and stuff, and be like, oh, we want to make sure to stop them from doing it, so nobody can wear a mask. And sometimes I was kind of like, that makes sense, but increasingly, people on the right wing, just if we come out and we say basic shit and protest, our employers are going to be contacted. If you say some type of racist or whatever, or what is perceived as racist, your life is going to be destroyed. And now more and more and more, just saying anything about immigration or Islam is considered racist. So maybe one day we might need to wear a mask as well. And then if we come and we all vote for a policy that says, okay, no, you can't do this, you can't do this, then when we need it, it's not going to be around. That's why it's really, you really want to always look for an alternative other than the state for solving a solution. That's usually the best option, because you always make something that you think is going to, and that's why I'm for banning circumcision and stuff, though, because that is something that you could justifiably make illegal, right? As opposed to some of the other things, whereas like you're harming a little child, like that's what it is. Whether or not you agree with me or not, cutting the tips of a little boy's penis at birth, like with the fucking scissors or whatever, like cutting it off, like you're harming a kid. It's not like they're getting anesthetic or anything like that. So you can justifiably make these things illegal. But then when you're like, no, we need to investigate mosques because they're doing this, or we need to curb our freedom of speech because we need to make sure that Muslims don't say anything hateful that could potentially rile people up. Well, it's like, that's a slippery slope we don't want to go down, because we make some restrictions on them. Those same restrictions are going to be used against us as precedent in the future, right? So it's always best to think, what created the problem in the first place, which was the government. So how can we fix it? Sometimes maybe we need to use the government, but generally, I think that we can fix things without it. How do you fix replacement population rates, right? For white people, well, stop stealing their money, for one thing. Less government. See, we think we need all of these programs. We think we need socialism. We think we need free healthcare. I saw an article from the Star. It's like, the secret plan that Doug Ford wants to privatize healthcare. Oh, and it's going to affect waiting times and everything, like in the title. But they don't mention, like in the story, oh yeah, it's going to lower the waiting times, make it better and easier for people. But they're just, we're convinced we need the state for a lot of things, when generally we don't, and we can get it done without it. And it's just really hard for us to imagine a world without big brother government doing everything for us. But like I said, population rates, how do you fix those? Well, stop stealing our money, stop importing almost 400,000 goddamn immigrants a year on our dime, because people are like, oh, but they're bringing money and wealth. No, immigration costs Canadians billions of dollars every single year. Tax dollars cost 20. There's a Angus Reid or a Fraser Institute study I read a couple of years ago. It costs something like $25 billion a year on the Canadian taxpayer's dime for immigration. So this stuff is not cheap, and it's costing us money. And if we had a smaller government, we wouldn't have all these problems. Same with, what's the whole justification that these people have for importing massive amounts of refugees and immigrants, is that our population, we're not having enough kids to pay for pensions and other socialist programs. So they would have no argument if we're like, okay, let's dismantle this. Let's start cutting it back. Let's get rid of all of these social programs that you're assuming we're going to have by 2040 or 2040 that we're going to need to pay for, and we're going to need these immigrants to pay for it. And since when do governments project and think 20, 30 years ahead? They don't think that far ahead. They think 3, 4, 5 years. That's it. That they think in 40-year time spans until the next election. They don't think in the long term. That's why they make all these stupid fucking decisions that we have to pay for 30, 40 years down the line, because they're like, well, I want to get elected now, and I'm going to open up the doors like Pierre Trudeau did to the world in the 1970s. Now our demographics are completely changed. We have a large fucking problem to deal with. So, you know, what the fuck? It's okay. The Islamic Party of Ontario will recommend stoning instead of healthcare. Yeah, exactly. You know, we'll have stoning to deal with certain cases that, you know, we feel that we don't have enough healthcare for. And be like, well, little Jimmy, this person is a better candidate, you know, for your lungs. You seem like you're almost dead anyways, so we're just gonna stone you, and then we're gonna like take your lungs and give it to this other little kid or something. Like, you know, that's the thing in Canada. And the thing is, like, speaking of healthcare in Canada, like the guy who has cystic fibrosis in the story, I don't know how old he is, 55 or something, but you know, that guy's still alive. Like, you know, it's clearly that whatever medication or whatever he was using helped him stay alive for a while longer. Whereas my brother died like 28. So I'm like, our Canadian healthcare didn't do very much for him, you know. So they kind of failed him, you know, didn't really do. They gave him like diabetes, told him to eat all this crap that eventually, yeah, gave him diabetes. And like, you know, it's just a lot of incompetence within our healthcare system that you do see, especially in Canada. But they're like, oh my God, they're gonna privatize healthcare for such an evil man. But you know, it's stupid shit. Let's see here, and then here's another article from earlier today. BC radio host faces torrent of threats, abuse from criticizing yellow vest protesters. So, you know, I've seen more and more of these stories about yellow vest protesters saying racist things, what do you call it, threatening people, and how big of a problem it is. Whereas there was a guy who asked Trudeau if he would push Trump off a cliff during like a question period, and nobody's saying anything about that. They're like, oh, well, it's okay. You know, Trudeau handled that amazingly and told him that, you know, how could you say that? But when it's a few people that are on yellow vest thing that are saying something, they're like, oh my God, they all believe this. Whereas I saw on Reddit today, there was a guy who's from the NDP who's standing there with Andrea Hoare, whatever her name is, Horwath or something. And he was on one of these yellow vest chat rooms, and he was like asking all these questions and, you know, trying to, you know, instigate stuff. So there's lots of people in there that are obviously plans to, I would assume, because it's really easy to discredit a movement of people, especially nowadays, because we're so stupid and we don't understand like guilt by association. You know, some people are so dumb. They're like, oh, well, that group of 100,000 people had 2 people that said mean things, and that means their whole group is promoting violence, right? And you're like, no, that's not the case. And people are like, well, would you say the same thing about Muslims? I'm like, no, I'm not. It's their literal ideology that promotes a lot of this shit. There's nothing within the yellow vest movement that's promoting violence or anything like that. You know, so it's stupid, but you know, the media is just trying their very best to label them as some xenophobic, anti-immigrant group and whatever. But you know, I don't really care if that's even the case, because sometimes it's like that is a good way to get You know, they're going to demean us no matter what. That's the thing. If you're going to speak out about anything important, anything at all, if you're going to talk about anything important, you're going to be called a racist. You're going to be called a bigot. You're going to be called hateful. You're by the mainstream media. It's just what comes with the territory, essentially. So you got to kind of like deal with it and have faith in people to be able to read between the lines in the news stories, hopefully, right? And sometimes they can see this, and the media kind of fucks themselves over because they'll talk about maybe some of the person's platform. They tried doing this to Maxime Bernier. They were trying to make him look bad at one point, and are like, oh, he wants to do this and this and this. And I remember reading, they all sound like good policy positions. I'm sure a lot of people were reading that or like, oh, that sounds pretty good, right? So like this smear, sometimes they have a backlash effect, right? So, but you know, it depends. But generally, I think, you know, it's still good. I'm for the people, yellow vest movement. I'm not sure how effective it will be, but obviously they're not a bunch of hateful people. And even if we do want less immigrants, that's not bad. Like, that's the thing. It's like, oh, if you want less immigrants in your country, that means you're hateful, you're spiteful, you hate brown people, yada yada yada. It's like that's not true. A lot of the times we just want to keep our own culture the way it is. We don't have the infrastructure for it. Why do we want more traffic? That's another thing. Like, why do we want more people clogging up the streets every fucking day when you go to work? Like that's something we don't ever think about. We just assume our populations, well, it's just going on a huge decline. It's going to keep going, and that's how it should go. If we're not having an increase, there's a problem. There's a problem going on if we're not increasing. And it's like the only problem the only reason politicians freak out about it, because they have all this socialism, these socialist policies they want to pay for with our money that they promise to people that they don't want to lose their vote. So they're like, immigrants, we'll just bring in immigrants. These people aren't having enough kids. Fuck them. Let's just bring in all these tax slaves or whatever, and they'll make some money and just boost it up just enough for us to keep, printing more money and giving it to other people. And you're like, they are selling us down the river. And honestly, if it wasn't for all these socialist programs like pensions and all these other things, which I understand people are reliant on now because, they've almost had no choice, right? And a lot of people are going to suffer and kind of need to suffer in a sense to get away from this system. Like, there's not going to be people that are going to leave unscathed, essentially. There's a lot of good people that are for small government, right, that still get assistance or whatever for whatever reason because of circumstance. And you got to understand as well is that a lot of people on assistance and stuff don't want to be on assistance. Some people really, they can't get off of it. It's really difficult because of health or whatnot, other circumstances, or how, just the fact that the manipulation of the government within our markets, we don't really see, I think, the real ramifications of what they've actually done in a lot of areas, and how they've manipulated, how now we're kind of like dependent upon them being involved in a lot of different markets, and how we would have come up with so many different alternatives if it wasn't for their input. Like even for seasonal workers and stuff, they get paid for EI and whatnot. And, if it wasn't for that, who knows what type of alternative we would have come up with for people who do seasonal work. And it would have been much more efficient instead of just paying people to sit and do nothing or whatever until there's more work again, right? Just that's as an example, is like there's so many things that, because of their influence, it's made maybe a lack of alternatives for people that want to get off of the system to get off of the system, because the government has so much control that maybe there's just a monopoly of one job, in this area. There's not a lot of other industry because, that a lot of people don't have as much money anymore because it's being taken from them, yada, yada, yada. But there's just so many things that I just, I think I'm like, what would we have right now if it wasn't for them constantly manipulating things, like, or giving subsidies to this or that company or company or business, because, all that does, giving subsidies, is make us buy more of that product, which could be inefficient, and we could just be, giving ourselves a massive problem in the future, right? Like, and it's directly because of the government, and because they don't know what's right. They get paid off by lobbyists to make their decisions most of the time. Look at the food pyramid. You see people, they're freaking the shit out about the food pyramid, and you see these juice companies, they're like, oh, our sales are going to go down because you're not recommending juice anymore. Oh my God, this is going to affect our sales. It's like, what? It's clearly political, the things we eat, the things we're told to do. It's, a lobbyist has some control over our food pyramid because they want to sell a lot of product. Even like it's crazy. Oh, here comes Anarchor. AJ is a statist, globalist, corporate rule, intent on more important than size. Won't get free from rats until gnats suck. This is just word salad, right? This is the thing with socialists, is they like to say a lot of word salad. What did you say before, Anarchor, about your people and how Canada is killing your people or something? Like, he wished for my people of Canada to be killed, or for us to all die because of what we did to his people or something. So, like, man, go suck Hitler's dick and be a vegan vegetarian like Hitler. And I think that's the only reason he was promoting veganism on my channel other times, because I'm like, wait, Hitler was a vegan. Hitler was a National Socialist. No wonder. And I'm like, I called it, like, this guy doesn't have a job either. I was like, wait, I'm like, you don't work, have you? I'm like, and he's like, oh, I would never contribute to this fucking system or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how did I know you've never fucking worked a day in your life? Like, it just makes me laugh, right? But I can't take socialists of any kind seriously because they have a utopian type perspective of humans and the government, and how, oh, if we just get the right person in who makes companies fight for us, and everything will be good. And it's like, it's utopian thinking. It's people that don't understand the way that humans work, and how people always will care more about themselves and their families first, or people like them. This is why you can't have a bunch of people in your government with dual citizenship, okay? This is why it's not good that in America there's like all these senators with a dual Israeli citizenship. Do you think they have? There's just a bill today. It was voted 441 to 1. It had something to do with, like, I don't know, boycotting Israel, or forcing Trump to hire this new person to overwatch anti-Semitism in other countries or some shit. And also people shit talking about Israel or whatnot, right? It's like people are ideological, are what do you call it? Tribalistic, and they really care about their identity as well. And they're always going to fight for that more. And having a government system and getting individuals to have control of all of your wealth and resources, inevitably, in control of that much money and resources as well, you're going to get corrupt. And inevitably, they're going to pick and choose winners within the economy, which these people do not know who the winners and losers should be, because they're not fucking God. Right? They don't know what the best product is going to be. They don't know what company deserves money and which company doesn't, because They are not God. They are not, they can't see into the future. They don't know. Nobody 30 years ago could have told you that I was going to be talking to you people on a fucking live stream chat on YouTube through the internet, right? Nobody could have fucking predicted that. You know what I mean? So it's like, we don't know. We want to reduce as much control from the government over our lives as possible. And for people to like disagree with that makes me think that they're just black-pilled, and they think that, oh, okay, the only way that we can, I don't know, live again is being authoritarians like these people, and like giving up on everything, on all of our principles and what we believe, and just, you know, might is right and stuff, right? So it's, you know, that's what I think that leads to, that type of thinking. Yes, he was funny and crude. Called Cape Pele. Did you know Red Fox? Will welfare state ever collapse? Yes. The welfare state will collapse. It's just a matter of time. It's mathematically impossible. And that's another thing with National Socialists. They're like, oh, I just want welfare for white people. Oh, it'll work. It'll be good. Oh, yeah, Alan is sorry about being from Ottawa. What was this here? Sorry. Dr. Watson. Revoked 3 times. Oh, yeah, that was that doctor. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't know about a lot of these different ideologies, but all I know is I'm for freedom on as many fronts as possible. I don't know what the hell Anarchora was talking about. I'm a small government corporatist or something like that. But, you know, anybody, you know, I think people, they don't really understand the actual relationship between an employer and an employee. And they think that, you know, employers only can make money through taking advantage of their employees. And it's a exploitive relationship. Whereas they don't realize that the business that you're working in wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for somebody putting their own money on the risk or on the line to invest in that company. And when that company fails, which a lot of companies do, they are going to lose all of their money, not you. You're just going to be able to find a new job and work. You know, it's an equal, typically voluntary transaction. The only time it's not is when there's manipulation within the market through the government that creates a monopoly that says, oh, the only media company that you can buy in Toronto is from Bell. No competitors allowed. You know, the only times. Where do you fall on the political compass? Probably far right. You know, more of an anarcho-capitalist, probably, you know, like more on the bottom right. But, you know, the whole political compass thing, I remember reading some of the questions, and it wasn't, I remember reading some of them. I'm kind of like, I'm like, I don't really like this question. I'm like, I think they're missing some questions. I think it could be better done to make it more accurate, because some of the questions felt like I didn't want to agree with any of the things. I was like, I don't, there should be more options or something, right? But yeah, I wish I had a freedom to slap on a front headlock on these leftists in my kids' education system. Yeah, right? You know, like you should be able to, because it's like, you know, or the thing is, once again, the government mandates your child to go to school. And it's like, you know, it's really hard to homeschool them in a lot of places, or it's like, you know, if you don't put them in these classes now, it's like child abuse or some shit. It's like, this is ridiculous. You know, people should have to be able to, you know, I don't know, raise their kids however they want, as long as they're not beating them and assaulting them and shit. That's how you figure out what's best. You know, if you have a government that sets a curriculum that says you can only teach these things and this is what's right. As we know through history, we're always finding out new things that let us know what we were learning before was wrong. So if we make everything dogmatic and we're like, oh, you can't divert from this curriculum because it's wrong, then we're never going to figure out what is best, what works best. That's why it's like, you let people try things out. Some things don't work, some things do work. Some people, sometimes you got to let people live with their mistakes. And it's like, oh, but then they're going to be poor. And it's like, well, hopefully they got family, they got people around them. Hopefully they're nice people and people want to help them, right? It's kind of like a little bit of karmic reaction as well. It's, if you're a bad person and you take a bunch of risks, lose all your money, yeah, nobody's going to want to let you sleep at their place. Nobody's going to help you out because you're a piece of shit. But if you're generally a good person, you're good to your family, you're good to your friends, you're a good person, then they will help you when you maybe take a risk and do something with your money that maybe doesn't pan out, that doesn't work out. So the government doesn't have to come in and bail you. But, a lot of us do have families and stuff that can help us. Not everybody, right? Not everybody. Some people are very unlucky, right? They have nobody. But there are charities, and people would give more to charity if they had less money stolen from them from the government. People would be overall better to each other because it's this redistribution of wealth which creates division and racism, or one of the things that creates it between people. Like there is a natural racism that people type have, for survival, like tribal racism. But generally, like, the government giving money to the Aboriginals or to these new Somali immigrants is going to enrage people because that's their money, right? Being given to people who they don't know, who just came into their country. So of course that's going to create resentment. Like, obviously you shouldn't necessarily be mad at these people and be mad more at the government that is doing all of these things. But once again, it's just the whole redistribution of wealth, and everybody sees like, well, that group's getting more and this group's getting less, and then they start to hate that group because they feel like they're getting more than them, and then it just creates more hatred and tension. Whereas we didn't have that, people, they wouldn't feel as taken advantage of. But obviously there would still be a bunch of socialists that are poor somewhere else. And just say you have like Ann Capistan that's all rich, they'd be like, you know why they're rich? Because they stole all of the money from us. That's why they're rich. And they will ignore all the fact what they did to make the country rich, and they had strong property rights and whatnot, and competition. They'll ignore all of this, but this is Marxist. These are socialist. They're just like, oh, but the reason he has everything is because of racism, discrimination, and theft. Now, these people, they don't make anything, right? Antisocial philosophy just ends in stated back corporate looting. This is just more gibberish. You don't know what you're talking about, Anarchor. But your antisocial philosophy, what? Just ends in state-backed corporate looting? UBI dividends from renewable resources is fair? Oh my God. Oh, how old are you? How old are you, Anarchor? Give me your age right now. Give me your age right now. Give me your age right now. He won't give it to me because he's probably like 18 or 19. He's one of these champagne socialists. They're like, oh, but it's like, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything. Read that fucking sentence again. But your antisocial philosophy, what antisocial philosophy? Explain the things you use. What antisocial? How is it antisocial? Because I don't fucking redistribute wealth involuntarily at the point of a gun? Okay. Oh my God, man. What age are you? What age are you? How old are you? I'm an ageist, just so you know. I'm not saying anything somebody under a certain age says is irrelevant. You're stupid. But The brain doesn't develop fully until you're 25 years old. So if you're 18, then I'm debating somebody that has an underdeveloped brain, right? No offense to anybody else, but that's just the truth. So it's kind of pointless. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, wait, this is a socialist, a young socialist that doesn't know anything about life because they've never went through anything. They've never worked. They've never had to pay for anything. So they're ignorant and they're stupid. But so it's like, why am I speaking to this person at that point, right? You're like, oh, wait, I just wasted a lot of my time on somebody that doesn't know anything, right? You're like, oh, the socialism is good. Mullineurism. Oh, no. Yeah. Look, why aren't you telling me your age? I find it really interesting. Taking fair. Okay. You know what? I've explained this to Anarchor, what corporations are, all these different things many times, but you can't get it. So I'm going to start to ignore you now because, you don't argue in good faith, right? I can only talk to people who argue in good faith, because if you're just going to ignore everything somebody says just to say what you want to say, you shouldn't even talk to them, okay? That's not the way a conversation wrote. I wrote all these lengthy responses. Doesn't respond to any one of my points, right? I respond to a lot of his points, barely responds to any one of my points, and then it's like, it just says a bunch of word salad, and you're like, that's not how conversations work. It's like, you listen to what the person says, then you actually respond instead of just corporations. Corporations are a creation of the fucking state, you motherfucking idiots. Like, are you fucking stupid? I'm sorry, but like, you're really pissing me off with that shit. It's like you know what I mean? It's like these people are given special privileges that other fucking corporations, other businesses, smaller businesses do not get in the free fucking market, which is given to them from the fucking government. Like, that's what, you know what I mean? Like, oh, but the corporations, this is the lobby. It's like, oh my God, man. Sorry, but I'm just gonna start ignoring you because I can't handle it anymore, and I don't want to be too mean. Oh, it just bothers me. Okay, sorry about that. You're really full of shitty thoughts. Oh, this age doesn't matter. I think your mind's. Oh yeah, this Firestone person. Oh, these fucking trolls I get in my fucking streams. You consider yourself intelligent. Who are you? Who are you, Firestone? How old are you? I am an ageist because, like I said, the brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25 years old. So that means that I'm arguing with people that are practically retarded, okay? So I'm not going to do it, all right? Okay, no, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm being harsh. But I'm just saying, but that is a truth. That is true. The brain doesn't develop until you're 25. So it makes sense why 18-year-olds and all these people are like really dumb, and they think socialism is good, and they think all this other stuff. Or, if you're still a socialist and you're old, then I'm like, I don't know what to say about you. I'm not really sure. Maybe you're like Bernie Sanders or Karl Marx, where you haven't had a job your entire life and you're a mooch, because that's how they live, right? Bernie Sanders didn't have a job until he was like 40. He like lived off his parents' money and just worked in politics his whole life. Karl Marx was also lived off of his parents. All these people that invented these fucking things that are supposed to, they're all bums. They're all fucking bums, lazy bums. And, actions speak louder than words. He likes to argue with oldies like me. I like to argue with lots of people. But yeah, I'm so old that my brain is overdeveloped. Right? Yeah, exactly. Your brain is overdeveloped. So I will talk to you, but I'm not going to waste my time on somebody who's like, the proletariat and the bourgeoisie and it's like, that's the anarchors using those fucking terms, like the bourgeois and the like. I was like, man, as soon as you start using that Marxist rhetoric with me, get the fuck out of here. I already know the way you think, between of relationships and business. Hey, Kelly Day, how's it going? AJ, I'm just hanging in the background, and I gotta say, your live streams are getting more and more saucy. Dig it. I know. I'm sorry. I was Karl Marx was a Satanist. I agree. 30 years, this guy just an anti-humanity. I'm very anti-humanity. Socialism always leads to starvation, genocide. Yep, I agree. Anarchor loves hit. Karl Marx was a grandson of two prominent rabbis, son of a very prominent lawyer, and lawyer to tyrants, and first cousin of the first central banker, Nathan Rothschild. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, all of these socialists, don't you guys find it really interesting how the people who promote socialism and stuff the more have the most wealth and stuff in society, and are like the most privileged and whatnot in society? Is it because they're really nice? No, it's because this is a way for them to retain their power, right? Oftentimes, like, a lot of the higher taxes that businesses want to put on people, all of those taxes are going to go to smaller and medium-sized corporations because they don't have the money to buy lawyers to get around all of the taxes that Trudeau is going to be implementing with carbon tax or whatever, right? So, like, a lot of people get screwed because they don't have the resources that to hire all the lawyers to get around all the regulations that make regular people like you or me pay more money. And then we wonder, why are there monopolies? Why are there monopolies? Because we created these monopolies. Like, we had a hand in creation of all of these monopolies that exist now by either restricting competition, by giving them subsidies, whatever. And then a dumb socialist retard is going to be like, oh, well, that's late stage capitalism. That's late stage capitalism. Clearly. It's like, no, it isn't. How could you say, like, a fucking statist society with all this welfare and all this like late stage capitalism? It's like, no, this is a mixed economy. This is not capitalism. This is crony capitalism. Yeah, Kelly, I know that what you mean. This is my first AJ live stream in a little while. Nice to be in the stream. Just came off the Fred CNN live stream. What a great night. Oh, thank you, Coach. I really appreciate that. And this one, places are in small towns. Kelly, Rainy, no, we did look at a place today. Oh, nice. You guys are looking for a place. Okay, you got to get out of there. Socialism for thee, but not for me, said all the Bernie Sanders out there. Yeah, that's so true, and I don't think a lot of these people really understand what they're asking for. And, they don't understand really how economics works and how incentive works, right? Like, I think once you finally understand incentives, then you'll understand why socialism is bad. But until you understand incentives in people and how people react to incentives, then you're always going to be fooled by, oh, well, if we just give these single mothers more money, everything will be better. But then 20, 30 years down the road, now we have a massive problem with single mothers because it's the incentives that we're setting up in society. So, the government sets up all of these incentives for us to do this, to us to do that, and have unprotected sex because now we're going to pay you money to do this, right? Like, the government gives incentives for refugees and aliens and immigrants to come to Canada. They're like, oh, we'll give you more than these people. Everything in life is based on incentives, pretty much. So you got to remove all of the negative incentives in society. And then you think, okay, well, we'll just have the government give positive incentives to people. Well, how do you know what you're incentivizing is actually positive? How do you know that what you're incentivizing is right? How do you know? Is it right to steal other people's money, in a sense, and then advocate for your causes. No, it's not. Whether you're right or you're wrong, it's wrong to take other people's money and use it for whatever you think is right. I think that is wrong as a whole, and people should just be allowed to keep more of what they earn, and that will be better for society as a whole, because you and me know best how to spend our money compared to somebody who lives in Ottawa, somebody who lives in another country, somebody who lives in the UN or in Belgium or some country like that, where they want to start making laws on behalf of our country. Like that's insanity to think that they would know better than us. America is $21 trillion in debt. We're trillions of dollars in debt, or billions of dollars. Clearly, they don't know how to spend money, but we're going to trust them with all of our money and how best. Clearly, they don't know. So fuck this bullshit. Just, we're just so scared of being free. That's what it really is. We're scared of freedom. We're scared of the consequences of freedom, and we're scared of having to, take care more of ourselves. But, that's just fear of the unknown. And I think we would all be better off with less government interaction within our lives. And, as long as you're not hurting people, you're not doing negative things like that, then, it's all good, right? But hey, Joe Hazelton, how's it going? Socialism for the elites and lazy funded by the middle class. Yeah, the middle class is the one that is just paying for this, because all this, we're going to tax the rich. No, they're not. The rich don't pay taxes, okay? The people who pay taxes are you and me and the upper middle class. Trudeau, he's like, we're going to tax the people who make $200 or $1 million a year or whatever. But it's like, that's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. Making $1 million, $2 million a year, or 200,000. That's not a lot. You know how many businesses, they, after paying their staff, after buying all of this stuff, they're left with almost no money left. So you're just hurting the middle class, the small businesses, right? And then all these like GM, GE, whatnot, they find ways to get around those taxes. So that's all it is. It's a tax for us, the carbon tax, because and once again, the whole thing with the carbon tax, it's only certain industries that are going to be getting subsidies, and then all the oil ones aren't going to be getting exemptions, on a certain amount of carbons that they produce. But that's just them, just the massive producers, because they're like, well, it's going to affect our economy. We got to let them pollute more. But that's just going to create more of a monopoly, because how are you going to compete with a company that is getting either subsidies or exemptions that you are not getting? So then, and like I said, we wonder, why are monopolies created? Why? Now we need regulations. Now they trick you into becoming a statist, because then you're like, well, the only option is a state solution and more statism to fix this problem, where in reality, that's often, I don't think, largely not the case. Or maybe we do need to use the state at this point for some things, because it was the state originally that was used to create the problems we have right now. Like I said, with a lot of monopolies that do exist today. But yeah, and even taxation, Trudeau raised the taxes on the rich this year. I'm pretty sure it was, he raised the taxes on the rich, and we actually received less tax income than we did last year, because, after you raise taxes above 50% or whatnot, you end up getting less in return, because they're going to spend their money in other countries and whatnot. And that's one of the reasons they want a one world government, so they can impose regulations and whatnot, and you have nowhere to hide. You have nowhere to run. You're a successful businessman in America or Canada, and they start imposing, very burdenous taxes. Now you can't even leave your country, because if you do, you're going to go somewhere else, and they're going to have the same exact laws, because we all have the same regulations wherever you go. This is great for everybody, but really it's not. Now you have no competition. You have no other option to go to where they're doing things a little bit different. Makes no fucking sense. Let's see here. Oh, there's Anarchor being a faggot in the chat. Anarchor, man, you know, I don't think you've ever had a job in your life. Didn't you tell me you'll never work ever to contribute, or you never have? So Anarchor, you've never worked in your life, and you're attacking Joe here. Like, come on, man, you got to look at yourself. You got to understand that you're a National Socialist, and you know, like, you're practically fucking retarded, you know, if you believe in that shit, if you believe in socialism of any kind, right? But so, you know, just refrain from like insulting other people, man. It's more like January. Coach and Joe, I concur. Leaving the country. Crap, that's a lot. You'll hit hard. I've hadn't heard the fuel banks until your video. These TAS schemes. At least I don't claim to be a con. A con? Anacor, you haven't trolled me in a while. I don't know, man. I think you're just black-pilled, maybe. And you're not answering my questions about, first of all, your age. Second of all, what's your race? Because you said I was killing your people or something. Canada, you hope Canada dies because of what we did to your people. So I'm like, you're trolling me or something. You know, like, what? Not to say what your race matters, but like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. And is that a picture of Karl Marx? I always thought that. I just never really clicked on it to go look. But, you know, I don't respect socialists at all. And I think they're parasites. You know, I think socialists, they're lazy and they're mad that they have to work. They're like, but I don't want to work, and I want to just sit in my room and play video games or like read and do whatever I want because it's not fair that I have to work. This is not fair. It's like, man, life is not fair. You know, life is not fair. Once you grow up and you learn that shit, you know, things will be a little bit easier for you. It's like, you know, it doesn't have to be that bad to work and stuff. Like, you know, if you're lucky enough that you have parents paying for you and buying all your shit, then maybe you can do that. But that's not teaching you any skills. Like, you're not learning anything. You're learning to be dependent on other people, you know, and that's essentially a lot of socialists. They're young and they're like, oh, I want to be able to go and travel and I don't have to pay for bills because, oh, this is so oppressive. And it's like, man, like, you know, you got to work. You got to, nothing is free. Okay. Nothing is fucking free in life. You know, absolutely nothing. And even your parents allowing you to sit at home and do nothing and not work, that's not free either, because you're going to pay for that when they die and they're no longer taking care of you. You're going to be a 40, 45-year-old. It's going to be like, mommy and daddy's dead. Who's going to take care of me? I don't know how to take care of myself because I haven't worked a job in my fucking life. And I know people like that. And you're like, fuck, man, it's going to be bad when your parents die because you're going to be in a tough situation because you've been dependent on all these people your entire life. So I'm like, what the fuck are you going to do when they're all gone? You know, you got to, you know, kids, look at kids. They are happy. They get so much joy when you give them responsibility. When you say, hey, you can make this for me or do this. They're like, wow, this is great. I feel so great. They don't feel good about themselves when they're doing nothing, playing a video game and achieving absolutely nothing, right? Of course they're sad. Of course a lot of these people are like depressed and whatnot because, yeah, they're not doing anything. Paying for stuff is oppressive. The new mantra of millennials. Yeah, it is oppressive. Paying stuff is oppressive. And I remember thinking that when I was really young, like when I was like 16, 17, you know, I was like working and I was like, man, because I had to pay bills when I was pretty young, right? Like 16 or whatever, I had to start paying rent. And, you know, I went to school and I was working and I was like, man, I feel like a slave. I'm like, I can't quit this job because I need this job to pay bills. And I understand, the feeling of, oh man, I feel like I'm a slave position, and I have no other options and stuff. But I came to the realization, I'm like, I thought about an animal in the wild, and I'm like, what if that animal stays still and does nothing? Well, he's gonna die and he's gonna starve to death. So humans are animals. If I stand still and do nothing, I'm gonna starve to death. So we all have to work, we all have to do something. We all have to get food in our bellies somehow, whether that's through I don't know, manipulation, I guess, if that's what you're like, like our animals and cats do. They like, that's why I love animals, cats, dogs. Like, a lot of what they do is just to manipulate us, to give them food. Cats, the only reason they meow is they only meow to other humans or something. They don't meow, but that's like something, just to get food out of us. But the whole thing is like, you need to work for your food, for your resources, to live. You can't just do nothing. Like if you're in a small tribe and you're one guy who's like a socialist type in like a tribe of 5 people, and you're like, well, I don't want to work, this is oppressive, and getting and collecting firewood and water is oppressive, and getting little game and rodents for food is oppressive. I don't want to do these things. Well, he's going to do that, and then your tribe is going to starve because you're not pulling your weight. And, you're going to get either kicked out, and you're going to have to go live by yourself because you're not pulling your weight in the tribe. So it's like, we're naturally not socialistic type, lazy, working is oppressive. We like to contribute. We get serotonin boosts as well when we accomplish something, when we do something. It's for a reason. It's for survival. AJ, you just said that about cats. My cat removed at me for some love and snuggles. Is that socialism? Yes, that's socialism. That's 100% socialism. And yeah, your cat is a socialist. So is your dog. But yeah, like, I love fucking cats and shit. And like, dogs too. It's like, they thought, I was looking at this thing, they thought they were evolved from wolves, but they found out they're actually maybe a different species. And that like, they're pretty much like, just their faces, they're just prone to getting sympathy from humans because they look at your eyes. Like one of the only animals that will look at you in the eyes and like, and you're like, okay, here you go. And yeah, same with cats. They only meow when around humans. And there's actually different meows in different parts of the world, like meow or whatever. But they're just like manipulative. What cats and dogs are. They're pretty much little leeches on us, like the little fish that eat the things off of sharks, right? They're pretty much leeches, but they're cute, cuddly leeches that also, cats, like the Egyptians prize them because, for agriculture, they kill all the rats and they did a lot of good things. In Egypt, if you killed a cat, you would be put to death, right? And same with dogs. Like a lot of these things, they think they self-domesticated themselves. Like they just came to us and we're like, hey, I'll help you hunt if you give me some of that food. And you're like, all right. And the same with the cats. Like, I'll eat all your rats if you let me fucking sleep here. And, it was a cooperative relationship, essentially. Yeah, cats and dogs are more manipulative. I know they are. They're very manipulative. It's hard to say no to an animal. And you're like, okay. You have some great vloggers in your chat tonight. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, there's a lot of, that's what I was saying earlier before, a lot of great Canadian YouTubers coming out now. Kelly, Joe Haze, Julie Mora, old white guy, Rance Derrick. I haven't seen Rance Derrick today because he hasn't called me a racist. So yet, but yeah, cats have domesticated themselves, I'm pretty sure, by they're just coming and eating rats and stuff at farms. I like cats. I like lots of animals other than lizards. I've never liked lizards and these types of animals because they just don't feel right to me. Maybe it's some like biological like thing. Like, I don't know. I don't like snakes. I don't like lizards. They look gross. And, I'd be like, oh, stomp on it. You know what I mean? Like, I like cats and dogs and I like horses. I don't like birds. Birds are really annoying. If you ever had a bird, which I did once, it was a terrible experience. And I don't recommend having one because they won't shut the fuck up. And then I feel bad because I put a blanket over it. Then I'm like, oh, it's in darkness. I feel like an asshole putting this bird in darkness. So I'm like, just get rid of it. I think I gave it to my grandma and she liked it. But no, don't ever get a bird. I think my cousin had some snakes and he liked them, but I just don't like the feel. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. I've never liked it. I don't trust them because I can't read their expressions. With like a cat or a dog, I can be like, oh, it's mad, or oh, it's happy to see me, or whatever. But with like a lizard or like a reptile, I don't know what they're thinking. I can't read their body language. So I don't like them as much because like I said, I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, you're like, all of a sudden the lizard it just hops out of nowhere and it hops at your face or something. Whereas like a cat, or a dog, their tail starts wagging really fast, or, you can kind of see how they're feeling or whatnot. But yeah, with lizards, I'm not even Christian or anything, but I think they were right about that with the whole the devil being a snake and shit. I think they got that right because it's just like a species that's just so far removed from us. I think that's just it's just too different for us to relate to. And the people who do relate to them, I don't trust them. They're probably psychopaths, and I would check their closets for dead bodies for sure. I'm joking. I know lots of people who like them too. For making me bust a gut. Yeah, I don't trust them. I don't trust lizards. I never have. I never will. They're like I said, you can't read them. You can't read them. But a cat, my cat's right here, and he's being a little bastard. Hey, Chupa? Yeah. My cat's name is Chupa, by the way, short for Chupacabra. I stuff lizards up my fanny. Okay. Well, that must be fun. There was this thing called I forget what it's called. It was with lobsters, and these girls were putting like lobsters in themselves and their pussies, and it would like one of them like hatched inside of a girl, and then like she was pissing out lobsters or something. Yeah, I just grossed up the discussion a little bit there, but you made me think of that. Short for indica. Oh, so you just blow smoke in your dog's face, I'm guessing. Slavey. You're just making your dog high. Is that what you're doing? And cats love my fanny. All right, Big Ben. Cats love that. No, this guy don't want a Muslim or black and even Asian to be in Canada because he thinking if those kinds of human immigrants more than he and his race will be replaced. What? Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I don't want to be replaced. I agree with that part. I don't want to be replaced. Why is that bad? People, we can't say anything about immigration. Oh, I want less immigration. You're a hateful bigot. No, I'm not. I just don't want to be replaced. I don't know. I don't know what's so bad about that. I really don't. But, I think we got to get people used to saying it. We got to like get it into the public sphere of thought almost that we are being replaced. Like, that is just the fucking fact of the matter. I'm all for working with all people of all different races, colors, religions, right? If they want to work with me, obviously. But that doesn't change the fact that Canada, we are not having enough kids. Canadians are having 1.3 children on average. We need to be having more than 2. So, there are many factors involved in that, and immigration is one of them, right? And if rates of immigration keep going the same as they're going now, there will be a lot less European people in Canada, or white people, European, whatever you want to call them. I don't care. But, and is that, you really got to think about, is that something that you want? Is that something that you think will be good? If you're fine with that, okay. But if you're not, maybe you should talk about it, because it's happening and it's not going to be reversible after it does happen. And, judging just from history and how tribalistic humans are by nature, how we like to group up, how we like to, blame each other for things a lot, and how, we're inevitably going to have conflict over resources because of our growing population. It's better that we just do something about this now, that we talk about the immigration and being replaced right now, because that is what is happening. We are being replaced. Maybe not intentionally, maybe intentionally, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. All that matters is that our country is going to drastically change in the future if the course of immigration is not changed. And even with zero immigration, we still got to worry about the birth rates. We got to worry about getting those back up. But like I said, a lot of the fear is because we want to pay for these social programs like pensions and all these other socialist programs. And that's the only arguments they have. They're like, well, if you want to still have welfare and socialism, you got to keep this mass immigration going. Otherwise, we're not going to have the money. You're going to be living on the street like a poor bastard, right? Like, that's what they want. All they do is fear monger in the news. Like the climate change fear mongering that's going on right now is insane. Like, really, like, just if you just listen to what they're saying and how they're like, Trudeau, he was this whole thing. He was like that UN town hall. He's like, if we don't do something about this now, we are the last generation that is going to be able to do something. So think about what message that is telling people. It's saying, if we don't stop global warming now, we're all going to die. Like, that's literally what he's saying to people. And then we wonder why people are like crazy and like super, anxious stuff all the time, because they're listening, to politicians who are like, we're all going to die if we don't reverse climate change right now. And it's all bullshit, because we have to do, like, we have to pay $5,000 per ton according to the UN, and we're only going to be paying $20, $30, $40. So it's like, if you were really serious about it, it would have done something much earlier, or you would have a much higher tax on the gasoline, because $20, $30, $40 is not going to do anything. So it's clearly just a fucking tax grab used through fear and fear mongering manipulation. Kelly, I'm good with Jewish folks. Yeah, I'm good with Jewish folks too, and stuff. And I don't want to get me wrong if I do talk about Israel and stuff, because Israel is different. And, there is a lot of manipulation going on from Israel in a lot of different countries. And like I said, if you look at America, look at Congress, there's something like, I don't know how many people, close to like 100 people have dual citizenship from Israel. And it definitely affects America's foreign policy and how they spend their money. And, there's a lot of powerful groups like the ADL is a group specifically for if you read it on their site, they're like, we are for the people of Israel or something, and everybody else or whatever. But it's like a really biased site. They're only, a lot of the information they present to you, it's like they don't even let you see the hate crimes that they're saying are happening, or they're considering like a bunch of ones that were fake hoaxes in there. But, like there is a lot of hate, though, unjustified hate towards regular Jewish people. And a lot of the alt-right people, they're just like, oh, Jews bad, all Jews. And you're like, okay, man, like, there are some people like George Soros, and there's other groups and stuff like that are Jewish and are really bad and stuff. But you got to be careful with your rhetoric and who you blame and stuff like that, because it's ludicrous to think it's one group of people that are they're responsible for all the ills in the world or whatever. And if we just get rid of Jews, then everything will be good. Yay. It's like, no, no, no. The problem with society, often, in my opinion, yes, there's always going to be manipulation going on from the outside, from the government, from an Islamic group, from a Asian group, a Jewish group, whatever. These things are always going to happen. It's more like you need to reduce the ability of groups to impact your government. And also, it comes down to people's own fallibility a lot of the times, right? It's like, a lot of people will blame certain things for their own mistakes in life that they could have changed themselves, but they're just going to blame, the Jews are the ones who did it all, and the Jews are why I'm not doing this. And you're like, okay, man, if you keep blaming other people in life, you're never going to fix anything. It's just like those black people who are like, the white man is holding me down, and the white man, and the white man, the white man, the white man. It's like, well, you're never going to achieve anything if you keep blaming the white man. Same with these people. And it's like, that shooting that happened in that Jewish Pittsburgh mosque, or that, not the mosque, but the Pittsburgh thing. I've been on Gab and stuff, and it's not like a lot of people are promoting violence per se, right? There's some people that are, but it's what you talk about. And if you're always just like, oh, Jews this, the Jews this, the Jews this, the Jews, then eventually somebody crazy is going to eventually act on that, right? Just some of the rhetoric that I saw coming from these guys, I'm like, yeah, I could see how one day that could kind of get people to do something bad. So, but that's the thing too, because it just annoys me how, if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic, and you're like, that's just how they shut people down. Anytime you say something about, their foreign policy or what they're doing. And I'm not a fan of Palestine and Gaza or whatever, but, they shouldn't be increasing their borders into Gaza or into fucking Palestine to increase the size of Israel, which they are doing illegally, right? There's a lot of things they shouldn't be doing, right? And I think people need to call them out on it. Just like we should call out anybody, any group of people, Islamic group, a Jewish group, an Asian group, a white group, any group that is trying to sow division within Canada or any other country for the benefit of their own country. Because, we have a lot of money, like I said, that the government has control of. And there's always foreign actors from different governments that either have dual citizenships in here that are always trying to take Canadian money to send it in causes in Palestine, in Israel. Like I said, there's this huge Jewish organization, the charity in Canada, just got popped because a lot of their money was going to the construction of military bases in Palestine and stuff. And you're like, okay, this is illegal. They're not allowed to do this. And but this is diversity. It's not just a certain group of people. It's any. The problem with mass immigration that we're doing right now is people will always have ties to their old countries. They're always going to want to, if they get in power and on political position, especially early on, they're going to try to give that country a lot more help. Like I said, there's a lot more Somalians in Canada now that we have an immigration minister that is Somalian as opposed to before, right? So I think that definitely has something to do with it. Hard to try, touchy subject. But yeah, I understand how it's touchy, and I understand how, if you're religious too, and you believe that Israel is the homeland or whatnot, but yeah, but there's definitely, was answering a question, chatter who asked here. Oh, okay. No, I agree. But I just kind of got on a rant about that because I know that is discussion. I'm not saying that that's what you were trying to say, Kelly, but yeah, I just noticed that. And I forget, there's some law they just passed today in America. 441 congressmen voted and one voted against. It was something to do with a bill of how if criticizing Israel is now considered anti-Semitic or no. It was, like I said, yeah, Trump, he hasn't appointed this person to I don't know, the Council for Israel or something like that. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a nonsense position, right? And that's why I was saying when people they compare hate crime stats and they're like, oh well, look at all the hate crimes and it's disproportionate. I'm like, yeah, but white people don't have groups trying to find out how many hate crimes are happening to white people, right? Or a lot of the crimes that happen to white people don't get considered as hate crimes. Then you look at the numbers, like they're not even considered in the mix. They're like, it's like, it's like Jews, Muslims, blacks, other minorities, natives, and there's not even white people they even consider you can do a hate crime against. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Of course you can. And but at the same time, I don't believe in hate crimes. I just think there should be a crime. You shouldn't be charged with a hate crime. It's like, you kill somebody, you kill somebody. You know, if you do it because you're a racist and you do it because you're not a racist, I don't think it should really matter, right? But again, maybe I guess they could, because I guess they're trying to dissuade people from doing anything that could start racial tension. And races killing other races will start racial tension because we're all tribalistic, like I said, and we all associate with people that look like us more. And when somebody that looks like us dies out of the hands of somebody else that doesn't look like us, we're going to have more of a visceral reaction to it. We're going to be like, he killed one of our own, right? And whether that's the correct reaction to have or not, that is a reaction that we have, right? And that's based on, our tribalistic type nature and stuff. But, that's kind of good and bad. It has its good and its bad aspects to it. I don't think tribalism is a good thing. When I say people are tribalistic, doesn't mean I want them to be tribalistic. I would prefer if people weren't tribalistic, Oh, am I freezing up here? America is funding them in all these other countries. Germany was giving them money. Your connection is unstable. Please wait while we try to reconnect. Am I disconnecting, guys? Buff City. Fuck. I might. Oh. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Am I buffing? Oh, it's working. We see you right now. Murder issues. Can you guys, am I back now? I'm not sure. It's okay, no lag. Okay. All right. I hear you. Okay, good. I was right about to looks like I'm lagging again here. What the fuck? Good now? Okay, good. All good. Yeah, I don't get why the hell's going on. Okay, all right. Looks better. There is no Palestine. Well, I don't really want to live by the whole might is right, you know what I mean, type way of living, you know what I mean? You fucking cat. Oh my god. You guys see that? Little bastard. He just goes right in front of my screen and stretches. And they stretch. But I don't know if I want to live in the whole might is right type world. You know what I mean? Like it is kind of like what we live in right now, obviously. But it's just difficult, right? Well, how do we want to live? Yes, cats do ruin this stuff. Chupa, hey Chupa, come here, little bastard. Come here. Hey, come here. Hey. Aw. Hey. There. There he is. There's Chupaloops. So I call him Chupa Loops for short. Little bastard. Yeah, I'll herd cats. Hey, Chupa? Yeah. Aw. But he'll scratch me. Here's the. Oh, see. He's biting me. Look, let's see. Oh my God, he's biting me. See, if I do this hand thing, so you put it right over him, he'll attack my hand. He likes it, right? But he doesn't bite hard, he'll just bite a little bit. Let's see here. Oh, come on. He's biting me. Okay, all right, enough of that. That was funny. An immigrant will gut you. Better a cat than an immigrant. What? An immigrant will gut you. I don't know why that made me laugh. I use him rats and mice away. Oh my, he's fucking around. He's trying to knock my shit over like a bastard. Sorry guys. I got distracted by my my cat. Just unvetted migrants now. No, I agree. We don't need immigrants. You can just come across the border illegally and hey, it's a Sharia cat. He's like attacking me. I'm not paying attention to him, the little fucker. Ow. He's black. That's why. It's because he's black. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm kidding. That was a bad joke. Have your cat kill the immigration. Aw, no, I won't do that. But I think that's about it for me tonight, guys. I want to thank you guys all for joining me. I want to appreciate you guys for staying around, even though it was starting to disconnect a little bit. Thank you for all the donations. Everybody, if you're still here, thank you for donating. I really appreciate that. I don't expect it, so if I don't get it, that's great too. You know what I mean? But thank you guys, and thank you for joining me, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. All right, so take it easy, and see ya to my cat too. Bye there, buddy. See ya. Take it easy, guys.